want to thank everyone for coming tonight. I'm going to be honest, I'm nervous. It's my first chapter meeting as president of the Triangle Chapter. So please have patience with me.
You're going to do great, Lorraine.
Thanks. I really appreciate for everybody coming. I'm hoping that we have some participation because Maryanne has questions. So we're going to start with Margaret, who is the VP of the Triangle Chapter, and she's going to read the non-compete clauses and stuff.
Okay. Let me just bring this up. Hi, everybody. I'm Margaret Palengo, and I'm the newly appointed VP of the Triangle Chapter for ASTA. So thank you. Happy to be here. I was serving last year as secretary, and so I guess that means I got a promotion. So, all right, so we're going to go over the antitrust guidelines and the confidentiality. So at this meeting you are attending, there may be representatives of your competitors. It is imperative that you keep this in mind and be certain to take precautions to not violate or even appear to violate the antitrust laws. To that end, during this meeting and any related meetings or interactions, there will be no discussion of prices to be charged or labor times to be applied. All such subjects are to be established independently by each without discussion among or agreement with competitors. Confidentiality statement. In this meeting, you may hear sensitive information regarding the operation and financial condition of ASTA. This information is to remain within the group and must not be circulated to anyone outside of ASTA or out of the ASTA board without consent of the ASTA board.
Thank you, Margaret. I appreciate that. We're going to start with a review of November and December. We sort of had a secretary, sort of didn't. So I'm just going to do a brief review. November, we were at Backyard Bistro, and we did it as a social event. We kind of got together, drank, talked, ate, and enjoyed each other. Then in December, we went to Dave & Buster's, and from what I can tell, we had a blast. The food was awesome. The kids enjoyed themselves. We didn't get to quite doing the white elephant, so everybody took their gifts home, but that was really okay. We only had a few people that brought it. Now for this year coming, we will definitely plan the Christmas party a little earlier, and we'll do it earlier in the month so it's not so close to Christmas. I know that was kind of a big deal. Of course, when we get closer, we'll kind of take polls to see what everyone is thinking, feeling, have an idea for, so we can kind of go through a list of that. Now, for the year coming, Margaret and I are going to work together, and we're putting together a list of a few virtual meetings. We're going to do some social meetings, so in person, and then we're also going to have some in-person educational or informative meetings that we would love for everyone to attend. So that would be great if we could get that attendance up. And then, so next is new business, and what we are looking for is a secretary for the Triangle Chapter to take the notes. So please let me know or Margaret, if you have anybody in mind. I'm going to be honest, I'd love it for someone from the tire side, some new blood in ASTA. I think that would be really awesome. If you have suggestions or who you think might be interested, please let me know. I'll put my email in the comment section so you guys can email me if you'd like to. And is there any other new business that we need to take care of? Okay, that's perfect and fine. Now we're going to introduce Maryanne. She is going to talk about work-life balance with being in the shop. And I've known Maryanne for a few years, have gone to a bunch of her seminars that she has spoken at. And I'm just so inspired by how she talks and how she can relate to us. She's also owned with her husband a transmission shop for quite a few years. And I'm going to be honest, I lost my notes. There they are. Maryanne is a leadership speaker. She's a coach, and she's also a shop owner since 1999. That's what I was searching for. She's also certified partner of 90 Day Year, which is a peak performance system. And her certification allows her to coach business owners who are looking to achieve peak performance. So with that, I'm going to let Maryanne take it away.
Thanks, Lorraine. I see a lot of familiar faces here. I'm so glad to be here. And I want to ask you if I could share my screen. Is that possible? I just have a few slides. And basically, when I go through this work-life balance, idea of it, give me your thoughts, because I'll probably end up picking on some of you because I know who you are and I know your personalities. And we could discuss different things. But yeah, I'll get to this and I will, let's see, put this in present mode and I'll share my screen. What Lorraine was talking about was something that I've been using in my shop. Let me know if you can see my screen. Yep, okay, let me just put this in present mode so you can see it full. Okay, here we go. So the reason she mentioned 90 Day Year, years ago, I owned my shop with my husband, 22 years, we've been shop owners, and we went through, a whole bunch of different challenges, right? At all the different stages of businesses. And there were lots of wonderful speakers and coaches within the industry that I knew, listened to their presentations, reached out to a few of them. But I felt like there was like something that was just missing. So I stepped outside of the industry and ended up with a 90 Day Year. And I did that in 2014. And it changed not only our business, but our life, our relationship. It just made it so much better that I became a certified partner. And now I'm able to use it and help other small business owners. So that's my story. And the thing about it is, once you get to know me and what I'm like, and, right down to my core, I really and truly believe that as owners and leaders, because we are leaders as, owners of businesses, when you grow, as owners and leaders grow, their business and their quality of life grows. And that's something that I really believe right down to my core. So the idea of work-life balance, today, my whole thing is a work-life balance that works for you. So the idea came about for me about this was that when I talk to shop owners and small business owners in different industries, I talk to people that are mostly in the trades. So whether I'm at like chamber, those types of events, what I found over the years is that many business owners are burning themselves out for their dream or in the name of their dream, right? Really hardworking people, which I really admire and respect. But I ask people, is your business controlling your life? And what are you sacrificing for success or in the name of success? Because what I find is that many people are working so many hours, more hours, and they stay stuck in that mode. So I ask people, how many hours a week do you work? And I came up with this framework, or I created this framework, 7531. And just kind of go with me for a minute on this way of thinking. It's when you think of a team member or the typical traditional workday, we think of an 8-hour workday. Now, business owners, I know those days are different, but when we think of it from a traditional sense, an 8 hours is one workday. 24 hours would be 3. A 40-hour work week is a 5-day work week. And 56 hours or more, you're working 7 days a week. Now, I know that for argument's sake here, there are many shops that have gone to a 4-day work week and they'll work 10-hour days. But many times life happens, challenges happens, things come up. And even if you are a shop that's working a 4-day work week and you're working 10-hour days, what happens when I really like have these one-on-one conversations with business owners is the owner's actually there more than 10 hours a day. Like they're the first ones in, first one in, last to leave. We heard that reference, right, in the conversation before. And the other thing is when you have that next day off, so to speak, because it's only a 4-day work week, a lot of times what they're doing is they're catching up with paperwork, or, you know, they're really drained and they don't have that fuel or that energy for their family. So most people, most business owners can get to 5 days a week on their own. They'll figure it out. But usually if you're going to go to less than that, you're going to start working a 24-hour work week or less. You do that with help. That's what I found over the years. And that's why I had reached out and decided that I wanted to perform at a higher level. And I'm right now, like in full transparency, I go in 1, maybe 2 days a week for our shop. And I'm really blessed to have, you know, the team that I do. But it took time. It took time, and I had to learn how to do this to make it work. So when we're talking about a work-life balance that works, what I'm talking about is like going pro. Okay, you want to keep your business enjoyable. And to do that, you need to have the plan, and you need to have that vision and share that vision. Because when you're excited and you know where you want to go, or you know where your business is headed, and you sit down and you start planning that out, you're excited. A lot of times that's what really, at the beginning of our business, really we made us have that grit and that drive, because we were so excited. You know, Margaret was just talking about this position that she's been, you know, working on and everything. And you could see the excitement and the joy in her expression, her body language, her face. That's enjoyable to her. Sustainable. When you want your business to be sustainable, you need to have that plan, but you need to share it with the team so that everyone's on the same page so that you can implement it. And then when your business is profitable, your team shares that vision, but you're actually doing it, right? The team is actually implementing, they're doing it, they're doing the work. You have your systems and processes in place, and that includes like quality control and going back and revisiting, you know, what's going on in your business. Is this working? Is this not working? How do we tweak things? And when you have those 3 things in place, that's what we're talking about when you start to really feel that you have a work-life balance that's working for you. So this isn't like any big major change that I'm talking about. It's not like anybody's broken or needs to be fixed. These are just like 2 simple mindset shifts. And what I'm talking about is customizing work-life balance so that it works for you versus comparing yourself to others. And I don't mean comparing yourself to others in the sense of competition or, having those goals. That's great. And competition, I'm all for it. But I'm talking about when you compare yourself to others and you really feel defeated, or you're knocking yourself down. It's that inner voice. That's what I'm talking about. Customize work-life balance for you and having the courage to do things differently versus staying in your comfort zone. Because a lot of times what we're actually doing is, when we think about it, it's like, are we really happy with how things are going? Or are we just comfortable with the way things are going? So I really liked this image for this. This was like an image that I looked up. When you look at these like figures here, it was evolution. And I thought this was really cool, because what I'm talking about is working more on than in your business. And we've all heard that term before, but I love these figures because I thought about, when you first start out, it's head down and you're like doing all the work and you can't even come up for air. And you're not eating, it's like you're all in and you're willing to do whatever it takes. But as you start evolving as a business owner, it's like you're growing and you're learning. And then you come to the point where you're upright, you're looking around, you're seeing what's going on, you're looking at all the areas of your business. And this, I thought, was a really good example because the fact is that we're all at different stages of business and life. So when we start comparing ourselves to others and we're knocking ourselves or being really hard on ourselves, we have to realize that some of us have kids, have little kids. So we're at that stage. Some of them we have grown kids. Some of us don't have children. We're taking a different path. And the fact is it's not a right or wrong issue. It's just the stage that you're in. And we also have different culture and demographics. So depending on where you are, there are conversations and topics and ways of doing business that are perfectly fine and you're part of the country. But in other areas, it's very, very different. And we have to be aware of that. And we have to be aware of that too when we hear people speak and we hear people coach, not to take things literally. We have to see, okay, how is this actually going to fit in my business with my stage of business and the culture and the demographic that I have. And also, we also have regulations that are different in different parts of the country, different states. I mean, simple things like what you have to put on an invoice can be very, very different in parts of the country. And you'll have people say, oh, I just write things up this way. That may work in your state, but it won't work in another. So we just have to be mindful of those things when we're, comparing ourselves to others and we're looking at achieving a work-life balance that works for us. So this is where I see people getting stuck and they feel stuck by these things that I call blockers, and they block you from performing at your best. And the first one is the clarity blocker. And this is the one that when this happens, it's really difficult as an owner or a leader, for you to stay focused on the owner role and goal. You feel like you're doing it all, you're being pulled in different directions, and you're questioning your direction. What should I be focused on now? What are my next steps? It's similar to when you're doing like jobs in the shop. Like I can relate it to a transmission job, right? There's a certain order, there's a certain sequence that if you do things in, and if you don't do things in the right sequence, you can create a big mess for yourself. And that's with a lot of different things that we could relate to. Well, that happens with our business as well. When we're talking about the owner role and the goal for an owner, it's sequencing, and we question that. And when we're not clear on that, that can really be a blocker for us performing at our best. Another one is the control blocker. And when we feel like we don't have control over a situation, this shows up as micromanaging. And a lot of times this happens because everything gets directed towards you. And people are checking in with you. It seems like everything, even though you have people on your team, somehow or another, everything ends up getting directed back to you. And what you're actually looking for is more accountability. Like that's the challenge that you feel like you're facing. And then when it comes to the confidence blocker, and you may see this in your business, even with like team members, any of these as well. So what happens with the confidence blocker is doubt. When you start questioning things, it comes across as being defensive. And I noticed this a lot with COVID and all the challenges that we're facing with COVID, team members being out, all of this. A lot of times it comes up in our communication, the way that we communicate, the tone that we use, the way that we show up. And it could show up with sales, someone who's on the front counter, you're trying to sell, you're trying to talk to people, or you're talking to a supplier or a vendor, but yet it's like, okay, I don't have a lot of confidence. I don't know if I'm going to have a full staff. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the work out. I don't know what everyone's capability is. I'm questioning that. I don't have a lot of confidence. So it makes it difficult when it comes to sales conversations or even conversations with your team. And when these things happen, we can definitely feel stuck. So there's 6 tips that I talk to people about when it comes to work-life balance at work. And these are the things that I'd love for you to share if you see this or experience this at all, or how you use these in your business. So the first tip is assess your resources, because, and I call this like a reality check. Instead of looking at someone else's shop or you're comparing yourself to somebody else, look at your resources that you have. Every single business owner has the same exact 4 resources. We can complicate this. The first one is time. How much time do you actually have? The second one is money. How much money do you have? We've all heard this, people applied for PPP during COVID. Do you have 3 to 6 months, money put aside for your business? We've all heard these things, but the reality check is, how much of this do you really have? People. How many people do you have on your team, and what are they good at? Because people always have different strengths. So you'll have people on your team that have different strengths than you do. And then skills. What are your skills, and who do you have on your team? Or even if it's something that you were to outsource, like say your shop management software or your website, soft platform, all of these different things. Is it a skill that you have, or is it something that you feel you need to outsource? So this is the first tip. And when I think about this, the thing that I say with this is, you're assessing your business, but you're also assessing yourself as well as team members to see where everyone stands and how you all fit into that. Because different shops will have different amounts of these resources. The next tip is expectations and goals. Sitting down and saying, what do you want? Like, that's a really big question. But you have expectations. You have expectations for your business. You have expectations of your team. And it's really good to get clear on that. Then there's people that others, right, have expectations of you. What are they expecting? And how do we look at that? What is your vision? Where do you see your business? What are you looking at, and what are you looking for? And with all of this that's going on with COVID, I say, this is what I suggest. When you set a goal a year out. A year is really easy to see. And I call it a GBB goal, meaning a good goal, a better goal, and a best goal. And the reason why I say to do that is because if you set one goal, yeah, you hit it, it's great. If you don't hit that goal, you kind of feel defeated. So why not set a good goal that was like, you know what? I think this is really realistic. I think we can do this, and this would be great. What about a better goal? You know what? If we were to do this goal, this would really be something. I mean, this would be like, wow. And your best goal would be like, you just hit it out of the park. It's a reach. But have that and include your team on these. And then, with this type of tip, what I say is take a break away from the day-to-day to plan. Figure out where and how you need to break, because it's going to be different for everyone. It could be a different room for someone. It could be an actual break where you're away from the shop, but take a break so that you can plan from the day-to-day. The third tip is people and relationships. And I say use culture as a guide. So share your values, right? And align yourself with people that support those values. Be open-minded to get feedback. Not only give feedback, but accept feedback. You know, we get a review or a team member says something, and it's like, okay, what am I taking away from this? Be an example of the accountability that you want. So, you know, you be accountable, and realize that we all have blind spots, because when people point things out to us, it might be like, ooh, it stings at first, but wait a minute, is that a blind spot? And this really, all of these things are things that work in business and in life. And, you know, for this one, I say, always be looking to develop leaders. Always be looking to see and who is receptive to that, and be there to develop them, because people in relationships are just so valuable. I mean, I have stories with like every single one of these, but I know this is like a short session, so I wanted to get through them. And the next 3 tips are: answer to a calendar. So a lot of times when you're a leader, you're not answering to people the same way you are when you're a team member. When you're at the bottom, right, of the food chain, or the top of the food chain, however how you think of your org chart, I always think of the leader as the foundation. But depending on how you position that, put in your non-negotiables into your calendar. Because if you were to take out your phone right now and you were to go to your calendar and you were to look at your calendar and see what's in there, what's in your calendar is priority, and you'll get it done. But there's a lot of times that we don't really put things in our calendar, like the time with family and friends, you know, the things, whether it's our faith, whether it's spiritual, whether it's charity or volunteer work that we want to do, self-care, you know, or thinking time. And how much time do we have to put aside for work? This is time that is going to be for work. And here's the time that I spend on that. So what is your priority? So have that calendar to answer to, because the things that you put in that calendar it's amazing. Those are the things that you're going to focus on. The 5th one is set up tomorrow tonight. And a lot of this is like with your systems and processes, you have your quiet space to plan. You're checking your non-negotiables. You're prioritizing new activities that you have to do, or it could be, say, new work for tomorrow. And you're eliminating activities that don't serve you. Sometimes we're doing things, we subscribe to things, and we look back and we're like, this isn't even something that is really best serving the business. It's not best serving the team. It's not, and we've just been doing this for so long. So go through those things and, you know, get rid of them, and build in that guilt-free thinking time, just time to think. And it could be as simple as going for a walk. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a weekend away, but it could be like going for a walk to just clear your head. I get the best ideas, the best, whether it's for the shop, whether it's for a presentation, whether it's on a coaching call. When I am preparing and I just get out of my space, I get so much clarity. It's amazing. Just like going for a walk. It's the best thing. But yeah, setting up tomorrow tonight. So instead of going in and being like in panic mode and checking everything, just take a breather and set it up the day before. Not to say that things aren't going to change. Just like how, you know, Benji was saying, you know, he's got someone out, he's got someone with COVID. We're in the same situation at our shop. We have a team member that left the country, and I don't know how easy it's going to be to come back. He may not be back. He couldn't visit friends last year and family last year, so he decided to do it this year. And now with this variant, and you know, we have one team member whose wife tested positive for COVID. So now he's checking. He tested negative, but he's going to go back and check and see. And, you know, we're dealing with the same exact things. And then the last tip is creating boundaries. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Saying no, whether it's by phone, email, text, or in person. And I don't mean rudely saying no, but matter of fact, no, this doesn't work, for me. Not being afraid or nervous or avoiding difficult conversations. We all have to have difficult conversations at times, and just realize that it's part of being in business. It's part of a family. It's part of a relationship, difficult conversations. So get comfortable with that. And I find that when you stand up for your core values, boundaries are really an extension of your core values. And I've seen that even within this group. I've known, like Lorraine has made changes with her work schedule, and she was working from home more. And I've seen that with you, Lorraine. And that's like a great example for setting up that boundary, but not making it any excuses or like apologizing for it. I think Mike is a great example as well. I've been on some of these sessions, and Mike will be, at the end of the session, okay, guys, well, I have to, chill out now. I'm going to go. I have to put my kids to bed. That's a core value, and that is showing up, and it's great. And so when you have those will show up in your day-to-day. There's no apology needed. Nobody's going to argue with your core value, right? So those are the tips that I have to share with you today. So in the end, work-life balance, okay, is something where we're mindful at the end of the day instead of mindful, right? And, that's the feeling that it gives us. So Benji brought up a really good point when you were talking about what happened in the shop, right? So I look at that, and I don't look at that and say, oh my gosh, there's no work balance right now. We went through something similar in our shop when we had to change over shop software. All right. We were working with one shop software, and that was acquired by another company. So now we had to transition to new shop work. So and you had to do this while you were running your shop at the same time. I look at those things as projects. It's a project. Okay, so I have to put in hours for this amount of time to get through this thing, but it's a project. And you'll learn from it, and you'll grow from it, but it's not going to be, this is the way it has to be forever. It's just a project that you have to handle and you have to take care of at that time. So, so that's the way I look at that. And I want to thank you for having me. If you have any questions or you have examples of how you used any of these, I'd love to hear, what you've used. But the idea here is to have a work-life balance that works instead of having, burnout, having that work-life balance. And, like if anybody has, any questions, even after this is done, or you think about something, feel free to email me anytime, because I would be happy to, have a conversation about this with you. People hear the word, oh gosh, okay, she's a coach. And it's like, look, I'm not trying to turn everybody into a client. I believe there's right fits and stuff like that, but I want to give back. This is something that is so meaningful to me. It's a group that I really love and respect. So if anybody has any questions or they want to dive a little bit deeper, with this, don't even give it a second thought. You could always reach out to me. But, does anybody here have an example of how they have used or, any of these things in their shop and their business?
Well, I use the calendar for everything. I have multiple calendars. I put when we have to take days off, and meaning I take Rob out of the shop.
Right.
So then he then has to schedule to make sure that it's either covered or we close the shop like we did for over Christmas.
Mhm.
I put all sorts of stuff on that calendar. which includes massages and date nights and all that type of even personal stuff. So even the shop knows, oh, we can't bother him because he's doing this. And they're pretty
Yeah.
good about it.
That's great. And that makes a big difference to hold yourself accountable.
I think when I made the transition to tip 5, they're set up tomorrow tonight. I don't always do it the night before, or maybe I do it at, between 5:30 and 6. I'm looking at what the day is going to be like. And I don't remember, I'm sure there's a name for it. I don't remember where I learned it, but I put everything that's on my mind on a chart, from urgent to not urgent, and from time sensitive to not time sensitive. And, or I'm sorry, important to not important, and time sensitive to not time sensitive. And I really only focus on primarily on the important and time sensitive things in the mornings when my brain is working as effectively as possible. And if it's not important and not time sensitive, I'm not going to do it at all, right? I'm going to delegate that to someone else if it needs to be done at all. So just a good way to prioritize and know what your day is going to look like, so that the day doesn't really run you. You don't find yourself responding and putting out fires and things of that nature. It's been helpful for me.
Yeah, that's great. That's Eisenhower matrix is how that originated, but Stephen Covey, people think of Stephen Covey as the one but actually that was the Eisenhower matrix. And that's a great example. Yeah, that is.
I think it's important to put into your calendar time to just plan, think about your business, and to try to do that regularly. I'm not been good about it lately, but there was in the past where, Wednesdays at a certain time, the calendar was blocked off, and that was time to just spend on learning and growing or planning. But it was just quiet time. It was very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, those are like the best times for me. I found too that when Tony and I started doing this, it was the conversations like about work and about the shop and the decision making process that we had to do was much more relaxed. It was much more relaxed, and I felt like our relationship was much better because of that. Not everybody works with their partner, their significant other, but I also find that even if they aren't working in your business, it really helps because they're supporting you. They are a huge part of your business, and realizing what you're going through and being a support to you. So like, as a matter of fact, because of the timing of this, Tony's making dinner for me. But things like that, he's like, yeah, go for it. I understand you're going to be on a call. No problem. I'll take care of dinner. So it's like you work those things out. And I think that's really important. We do have the shop together, but he's not involved in the speaking, training, coaching end of it. But he's very supportive of it and he gets it. So I see that with shop owners as well. Some people actually do work together, but others don't. So they have different, careers, but still there's that support system that really helps a lot. If that makes sense.
I think it does, because I don't work in the shop, but I do assist Rob with a lot of planning of stuff and making sure he has time for other things. So like, he'll need me to help him with something, or we need to discuss it because it's like a big purchase, or it's, something important for the business. We'll schedule the time and we'll put it on the calendar, or he'll put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
Or even our service advisor will, hey, you need to talk to Rob about so-and-so.
Back to setting up tomorrow or tonight or whatever. Something my uncle shared with me years ago, as things happen during the day that are unplanned. he said, divide things into shoulds and musts. And you take care of the musts and do what you can about the shoulds. So as
I like
things have
that.
to change on the fly, I've always liked that.
Oh, and like in the industry that we're in, like that is a great example, because how many times we plan the day, but then all of a sudden we have a part issue, or, someone's not there, or someone has to leave, and, it happens. And the reality is what starts the day, or the plan that starts the day, we have to be flexible and adaptable as things change. And this is what we're dealing with, right now, especially right now. It's not only in our industry. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, but we were just talking about earlier on the lines for the testing. I think people are very, very stressed right now, just as a whole, everyone's, because this has been going on. We're in our second year of this, and it's with healthcare. We're seeing the stress and the strain. We're seeing it with the supply chain. We're seeing it with everywhere. And we tried to get a title for a vehicle that we purchased from a customer. We were going to add it to our shuttle loaner fleet. And what typically would be an easy form, I have all the paperwork. We've done this so many times before. You send it in and you get it back. It took over 2 months to get the title for this vehicle. In that process, we already did the transmission, had the sign people, letter up the car, letter up the vehicle, and we had it ready to go. And we still hadn't gotten the title. But talking to the DMV in our area, and it was only by email because nobody was actually working in the office anymore, it was painstaking. I don't think they had access to a lot of the information. So they were giving us information in dribs and drabs. It took like 4 different correspondents by mail to finally get the title. It was really painful. So, I think everyone's feeling that. I think a lot of places that we're dealing with, they don't have the support. They don't have the leadership and the support that they need. So we're seeing that stress in everyone right now. It's just something to be mindful of.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, not just within our industry, but all industries. People waiting in line for COVID tests and getting upset and, getting nasty, or traveling and all this. It's people are just out of their element, and they don't know where to turn. So, I think that leadership is really a struggle for a lot of people today. I think we need it more than ever. So as shop owners and leaders, any tools that we have, like in our toolbox, that we could make use of, just helps us, and it helps us with our team as well.
I'll give a shout out to burnout coming from the vendor side, and I see this. The work-life balance at parts stores, they run those guys into the ground. I mean, they really do. So I don't know if shop owners see that and trying to get parts, but I'll talk to the parts guys and the counter guys. Say, yeah, man, I've been at work now for 14 days straight without a break. And, but those are all big business. And anyway, be nice to your parts guy is what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely. Having respect for everyone that comes into your shop is something that was always, like a basic, like that is fundamental in our shop. And when we have people come in, we don't go by titles, you treat this person differently, or that. It's everyone that comes in and out of that shop is treated with respect. And of course, people that are on the phone as well. But Paul, I understand what you're saying, because we see turnover, with parts, the people that are coming in, and they're stressed. I don't have drivers. I don't have anybody today, and they're training a lot of new people and they don't know the system. And, they'll tell you the part will be there and then it's not there. And it makes it hard for the shop owner to schedule. Do I put the person on another job? And it's just tension all the way around, but they're feeling it as well. Our vendors and our suppliers are feeling the same thing that we are. So I want to be respectful of, everyone's time. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
I think it's worth noting, in that conversation about the cumulative stress effects that everyone is under right now, and just how wonky the world is, and that we need to understand that that's having an effect on us and how we interact with our team members and our clients and everything else. But also we need to understand that it's having an effect on our team. And so they've got these same outside factors playing in from the world and the craziness. And so their stress level and their, ability to deal with things that are outside of their normal day-to-day might be challenged more than typical. So, operate with a mind to their mental health and well-being as much as possible too.
When COVID started, I couldn't agree more. When we were notified of it, and actually, I think Tony and I had just come back from Vision, and they shut down New York and Connecticut literally within like that week that we had come back. So that's like early March. And it was like rampant. And that's when it was really bad and people were like, dying from it. And my concern when I talked to Tony about it, I said, we need to have weekly meetings. We need to keep everybody in the loop of the steps that we're taking, our plan, what we're going to do. And, I said, because the biggest issue that we're going to have with this is everyone's mental health. This is going to be a challenge. And then you started seeing, what was happening and, letting people know you may have not used this on your insurance, but if you need to talk to someone or one of your dependents on your medical insurance, that is something that you can go and you can talk to someone. If you have questions, ask me. I don't have the answers to everything, but I will do the research. As new information is coming out, I am going to let you know what's going on. Making decisions, to apply for PPP and go for that process. In our shop, we didn't let people go. We kept them on, even though we had 2 months that was like the floor just dropped off. And we hadn't seen that we hadn't seen that since 9/11 in our area, because we're pretty close to New York. And that lasted about 2 weeks. But this was really, really rough. But we said, no, we're really fortunate. We're considered essential. We will figure out, we will have projects. We wanted people to know that letting them go wasn't something that we were considering. And that if we had projects and things in the shop, that we would start doing those. And we wanted them to keep their medical insurance, and we wanted them to be able to keep their retirement. And, we didn't want to deal with that. But I saw in some industries, people panicked. They panicked and they let people go right away. And I even talked to some shop owners that were local in our area, and they were like, you know what? Just, let the government take care of them, take it off my plate. And then they struggled with getting those people to come back because those people didn't feel safe anymore. If something else happens, I'm just a number, I'm going to go. They didn't feel secure anymore. They may have even questioned whether or not that owner had the financial security to weather a storm, or did they really know how to run that business? They might have started questioning that when they were home and they had time to think about it. And maybe they were thinking, how am I going to grow in this environment? Like, what's the game plan here? So they really had a lot of time to think about it. And when people don't feel safe or secure, they don't feel safe like somebody cares about them or they matter, or they don't feel really secure, like the business is stable and they don't feel like there's any type of opportunity or anything like that. If they don't see that, they're not too quick to come back. And many of the people that I talked to, that's really what happened. They panicked as a leader and figured, that's what I have to do. And, they did, but now try to get people back. They're like, I don't understand why they're not coming back.
Mm.
And in my mind, that was why. And
I
that's
do think-
inside and outside the industry.
I do think mental health has been something that we've gone from not helping employees with, mostly men, thinking that they need to have all the solutions to everything in their life, to within the last year, quite a number of situations where we're assisting people to find health, mental health. Has anyone heard of any good programs or ways to assist or ways to get employees to be vulnerable and to ask for help, that it's okay, so that we can provide them with the help when they're seeking it?
Had success with telehealth therapy, so they can go out on lunch break or take a long lunch break. If they let their store manager know, then they're allowed to have an extra 30 minutes tacked onto their lunch break, 2 or 3 times a month to be able to do that. And it's pretty affordable, and a lot of times it's covered by insurance depending on the plan. But I've got a few individuals that are using telehealth therapy 2 or 3 times a month, and they seem to be appreciative that we're giving them the flexibility for that. So, but then, in our field, you've got a ton of guys that are going to turn their nose up at that and think that they just need to tough it through all of it, right? But that only works until it doesn't, and then it fails spectacularly.
Yeah, a lot of insurances now, a lot of the healthcare did go with COVID to that virtual, so telehealth would be a great resource. And a lot of insurances do pay for those types of things if you look into your policy that you offer. Another way is, giving them like a framework that they can use, like personally and professionally. I know that, with me, I use like this framework. It's called POP, P-O-P. I've done trainings on it, but I found that it's helped a lot of people. I'm not saying don't use telehealth, absolutely do that, but just kind of to encourage and reinforce. And it was actually, I don't know who knows Gary Vaynerchuk, but it was actually something I was able to get on a call with him because I submitted a question on leadership during COVID and during that real challenging time with COVID. And they liked my question, so he answered the question, and then I kind of unpacked it. So basically what POP is when you're dealing with challenge is you look at, okay, what you want to do is you want to be positive, optimistic, and practical. So positivity and optimism could be viewed as delusional if you don't have the practicality, right? And like Mike said, he was talking about, different guys in the industry, and it's hard for them to reach out. But if you have the positivity, if you have the positivity, I find that my positivity comes from a plan. When I have systems and processes, and when I have a plan, or I can go and review a plan and I can tweak it, just like you're planning your day, I can be more positive because I have a plan. Optimism for me comes from when I look back and I say, you know what, I've gone through some pretty tough stuff before and I've learned from it. Not to like beat yourself up or anything like that, but to turn around and just say, yeah, I went through some tough stuff and we got through it. And here's what I learned from it. So I can be optimistic that we're going to get through this. And then to be practical, to go in and to say, okay, what are the resources that are available to me? And how am I going to use those resources? And it's really like, like that reality check. And so when you put those three together, it really does help. And that's something that, you could share, with a team. But yeah, I found that was really helpful. And I did some trainings on that, and people seemed to feel that it was valuable.
Awesome. Maryanne, thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking with everybody this evening about work-life balance and giving us these tips.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everyone.
Thank you. So I wanted to end with our February meeting. We'll be at Auto Shop Solutions on February 1st. Woohoo! Thank you, Margaret. And does anybody have any more questions or comments or something that we missed?
Maryanne, just thanks very much. That was great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you,
for having
Maryanne.
me. Happy New Year, everyone.
It was so nice to see you, Maryanne, and
Thanks,
I look forward
Margaret.
to seeing you in person soon, I hope.
Me too.
Really enjoyed some great information tonight. Thank you so much for sharing.
It was
Thank
great,
you.
Maryanne. Thank you. Thank you. It was
Thank
good.
you.
I'll give you the Boy Scout.
Good night, everyone.